Back to saying some wild shit right before we get to it.
Yep, and cursing before the 30 seconds begins. Here we go, y'all. This is
Oh, my
we
bad.
trying. I mean, we keeping it in now.
I forgot.
We're not monetized yet, so it don't matter. This is we trying. Nerdy by Nature Productions. I'm Michael. That's Leroy.
I'm Leroy.
What are we talking about, man? All of yeah.
None of the sound effects match with how this actually sounds because I can't do sound effects. But we're talking Star Wars. Star Wars Celebration was last weekend. It
Mhm.
was in the UK. Star Wars Celebration Europe was in the UK. So yeah, we're here doing a recap of what we like, what we didn't like, what's interesting, and what caught our attention.
hmm
So let's get to
Um,
it.
yeah, I mean, I guess off the rip, how would you rate this Star Wars celebration?
I don't know because I didn't watch it all the way through. I never
Mhm.
do. So I don't. I usually get the information kind of like you just see it pop up on your phone when you get a chance to go back and look. I don't know
Mhm.
how I would rate it. I liked what they did. Um, I liked all the announcements. All the guest stars were great. The one thing I did like that I wish more things would do when they do these types of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, DC fandom is kind of doing it. I wish Marvel did something like this. They did a very good job of like interviewing uh, Dave Filoni, Tony Gilroy, John Favreau. So like the people behind the scenes, the directors, the producers, the
Not just like the
writers.
actors and stuff.
Yes, and that's something I really like. Like Tony Gilroy was really interesting because I've admired his work for a number of years. But he said something that was really important. He was like, as a writer, to see this type of reaction to something that I did is just something I never thought I would see. And I think that's inspiring. That here's a guy who's done work before, and I'm glad Star Wars gave him this opportunity. But it's for a creative who's probably
Hmm
worked hard his whole life, and to see that type of reaction to his work it was uh what's the word I'm looking for? It was nice, especially in this crappy news cycle we keep getting. It was nice to see that.
hmm Yeah, I mean, for me, I was just excited, and I didn't know how I felt about this.
Mhm.
Behind the scenes, y'all, we tried to record this, it didn't go like we wanted, so we're recording it again,
As you
and
can
having
see
that
right there,
right.
that's why
Um,
it didn't work.
yeah, and thinking about it now, having that day to reflect, I'm kind of excited about just Star Wars movies again. Um, we had kind of gotten into a rhythm of having Star Wars movies. You can debate the quality of them, whether they're good, whether they're bad, or whatever. But I think there is something for just having more genre movies out there just for people to digest. And it
Mhm.
seems like the ones that they announce and the people that are attached to them are really cool names. So that makes me hopeful for whatever these movies are going to be.
Okay. I'm so so to me, Star Wars Celebration is broken down into different categories. You have one, which is the toys.
Hmm
Hasbro has the license for Star Wars when it comes to action figures in stores. So you had that side of it. You have the television side where they announce, okay, here are the shows that we're going to be working on for Disney Plus, and then you have the movies,
hmm
and and those and with those three categories you have different panels and different people contributing. So let's start, you brought it up, let's take it from the movies. Three movies were announced. um, we have a movie from James Mangold,
hmm
who, if you don't know who he is, the director behind Logan and the new Indiana Jones. He has a Star Wars movie coming out, or it was announced he will be working on. It's untitled, set in the distant past, supposedly some 25,000 years before the original trilogy. This is before the New Republic, the High Republic, maybe
I
even
see
the Old
something that says
Republic.
we'll go back to the dawn of the Jedi.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
The exact quote is a biblical epic like the Ten Commandments about about the dawning of the Force. So we may see like the origin of the Force, which will be kind of interesting. The
Hmm.
Hold on. That's one movie we got that was announced. One new movie was announced. We also got a movie from announcement from Dave Filoni,
Hmm.
which is basically going to tie up all the Disney Plus stuff. So that includes The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka. So I think that's interesting. And then we have the Untitled, Charmin Obaid Chinoy.
Sure.
I hope I got that right, but probably not. Now this is interesting. Um, According to Polygon, this was previously Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie, but news broke in March that he was replaced by screenwriter Stephen Knight. Uh, Chinoy is directing. The new Star Wars movie will be set in a new era called The New Jedi Order and will set more than a decade after the events of Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Now,
Stephen Knight,
yeah,
the same guy who did Peaky Blinder,
yep, Peaky Blinders, yep. So go ahead. You were talking
uh,
about the James
Lost,
Man.
Serenity. Yeah.
Start with James Mangold, the biblical epic. You were
Well, it's interesting because there's kind of a cool idea with stuff that is just it's here. You don't
hmm
necessarily know how it got here or whatever. You just know it's now part of the universe and you just move with it. Um, I think with some other prequel stuff or going back in the past, it necessarily hasn't worked. I look at Solo. There are parts that I liked of Solo. I liked Phoebe Waller-Bridge's droid, whatever the name of that droid
that
was. I can't
was
remember.
one of the most original characters I that we've had in Star Wars in a long time.
I liked that droid. I liked. I'm about to say Childish Gambino, Donald Glover as
hmm
Lando Calrissian. I thought that was fun, but the idea of laying on this groundwork for how Han Solo got his name and dice and stuff, didn't need it, didn't care, thought it was dumb.
Now, hold on before you go any further. Let's do a little. Let's remind the people this movie was from Stephen Miller and Chris Lord. No, Steve is. Oh man, I can't remember their
I think
first
it's
names. But
Phil Lord.
yeah, then you might be right. Actually, you are right. I'll just call them Lord and Miller.
Mhm.
Were originally attached to the movie, and they were fired. And then Ron,
I was
um,
about to say Ron Perlman, but it's not Ron
no,
Perlman.
it's Ron Howard,
Yeah,
Bryce Dallas Howard's father, Opie, was brought
Opie
in
Cunningham.
to fix the film. According
Hmm.
to Star Wars, it wasn't what they were looking for. So a lot of the things. So we don't know what the original film was. Um, we know that he was brought in, and there was swaths of storylines and characters cut. Michael K. Williams was in the film; his entire line was cut, or his entire presence in the movie was cut.
Hmm.
We don't know what the original movie was like. We know that what we got was not well received,
Hmm.
and that could be a multitude of things. A lot of it is probably what you're hinting at, but it goes back to what you originally said. Star Wars wasn't an event when it came to the movies.
Hmm.
And Solo was the one that was like kind of the knife in the heart, where it didn't perform the way they thought it was, and they took a step back and said, let's reevaluate, let's reorganize. How do we make Star Wars an event? And we haven't gotten a film since that or Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, but I mean, and to tie all that up, so I say all that with the prequel stuff. I don't really care, um, but it is James Mangold, and I do like what he's done. I kind of think of him kind of going into the X-Men properties and giving us the awesome and amazing Logan.
Yes.
So I definitely think he can play in other people's sandbox and make something cool. I'm just a little trepidatious about it, but yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because it's James Mangold.
So I am if James Mangold had not done Logan, I would have been apprehensive. Excuse me, because like you said, playing in other people's sandbox. To me, Logan is one of the few X-Men movies that I like. I didn't like the Wolverine. I thought it was just okay. I thought Logan Logan was the first movie that made me feel like that's Wolverine,
Hmm.
and it adapted one of my. It introduced X-23. Like the way he handled that character, the weight, the deaths in that movie. I felt he did a good job. He's also directed New Indiana Jones. We don't know how that's going to be. It could be The Last Crusade, or it could be Crystal Skull. We don't know, but it seems that Disney has put forth and said this is the person we want directing this new Indiana Jones. It's going to be great. Harrison Ford has signed off on it, so I understand where you're coming from. However, I will say I was one of the people who was just like you. I don't need to know how the Republic came together.
Hmm.
I got Rogue One. I was like, I'm good. I didn't want Andor. I'm on another channel that we had. I was very adamant, like I don't need Andor. Don't care. We already know Andor died. And then Andor came out, and it is one of not just the best Star Wars shows, one of the best shows of all time. It's a top 50 for me, maybe even top 20. Andor, just that first season. So I've eased up off of prequels suck
Hmm.
because Star Wars is one of the few properties that have gotten it right with the Clone Wars filling in the gaps of the prequel trilogy, with the last season of Clone Wars with the Siege of Mandalore, um, Ahsoka's the filling in the gaps between Order 66 and Ahsoka and how she and left the Jedi Order again. Star Wars has done it right. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. I was just like you. This could go bad. And it could. But
Hmm.
I'm willing, kind of like we say in Feige we trust. I'm like, you
That's
know
no,
what?
that's what you say.
I do say that.
Yeah,
I should get a shirt that says that.
you should get a shirt that says
I
that.
if I seriously should get a shirt that says "In Feige We Trust." But yeah, I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway because they have done it so well in the past.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Let me take that back. They have done it well in the past recently because
Yeah.
some people would not agree with me when it comes to some of the other Star Wars properties, like you said, Solo, the original prequel trilogy. Um, some people would have a problem with those.
Hmm. Okay, so that's James Mangold. Uh, Dave Filoni. What do you say? This guy has brought Star Wars back.
I mean, if the man sat at the feet of George Lucas and has interpreted George Lucas, some would say better than Lucas did.
Hmm.
He's a man. I like Freddie Prince Jr. I like him. I've liked a lot of the stuff that he's done. However, I love Freddie Prince Jr. for the way he has defended the prequels and the way he's defended Rebels against some people who are, we'll call them Star Wars haters.
Hmm.
Um, when there's a 2 minute, there's an interview that Freddie Prince Jr. does, and there's basically 2 minutes of it that is just perfect. The way Freddie Prince Jr. And it's like a monologue. The way he comes and defends, and then in a sense, explaining the Duel of Fates, explaining the fall of Darth Maul. That's all Dave Filoni. This man sat at the feet of George Lucas and has created an entire storyline.
Hmm.
I mean, if you can't see right now, I'm holding Paz Vizsla from The Mandalorian. I love this figure. I love this character. I bought this figure twice. One at retail. It's a deluxe figure. It's the carbonized Paz Vizsla. I bought it full price, and I bought it when it was on sale because I was like, I can't pass it up. And I've never opened it. The one that I bought at full price. Just bought it. It's in the packaging. Um, that's Filoni, man. Filoni gave us the Clone Wars cartoon. He gave us Rebels. He's helped with Jon Favreau. He's given us the Mandalorian. Um, Here, you know what? Another shirt. And Filoni, we trust.
Interesting.
Bank it. I mean, I'm making these shirts, man. I don't know how. I don't know what color they're gonna be. But yeah, I'm making these shirts.
So, how do you think? Because the Mandalorian, they have gone on record that they don't really have an ending
Nope.
in mind yet. They don't know how it's going to end or when it's going to end. Do we think that this movie is what brings it all together, or
Could be.
Okay.
So here's my hot take on all of this. Filoni does a good job of filling in the gaps of the original 9 movies. So if you think of the 9 movies as the core, the canon of Star Wars, those 9 movies are what makes Star Wars Star Wars. Love it or hate it, those 9 movies are canon.
Hmm.
Filoni has done a good job of those holes, those gap years stuff happens, whether it's in between episode 2 and 3, which is the Clone Wars, whether it's the Mandalorian in between Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. He fills in those gaps very well. I think the way he handled the Clone Wars, some of it's perfection. I think this movie is a direct tie-in to show how the First Order came to be. Like that
Okay.
culmination of this is how this happened. Because we there's books, Chuck Wendig, the Aftermath. Go check out that book. Some of those characters are now going to make the leap to animation and live action. But perfect example, we don't know what happened at the Battle of Jakku.
Hmm.
We know it happened. We see the planet. We Unless you read the books, some of the comics they fill it in, but it's never been on screen. I think Filoni is shaping and telling these stories, connecting different little tendrils so that you can understand what the world, the universe, the galaxy was like after Return of the Jedi to the beginning of The Force Awakens. And I think that movie's a culmination that explains a lot that you were like, oh, that's how that happened. I think that's what his movie's going to be. No, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. He's going to have a whole bunch of because you think about the budget he's working with just with animation and television.
Hmm.
Now give him the budget of a movie, and he has all of and think about this. You already have all of these actors and backstories already established. So now it's just this is your end game. This is your Infinity War for Star Wars. You have all these different series that were going on, and now he's going to tie it all up into a movie. So I'm excited.
I was trying to find the logo, like the graphic that shows, um, like essentially the what the timeline is for Star Wars now,
Ah,
where it has like the Jedi and the Order and all the different stuff. There's like it has
mhm.
each one has a little logo.
Yeah,
I thought
nice. I know.
Star Wars tweeted it, but maybe they retweeted from somebody else.
So they had that graphic up while they were doing stuff at Celebration. When they were like announcing different things, so it'd like pop up, kind of like the timeline with the MCU and their
Right,
phases. Yeah.
right, yeah, and I don't know where it is now.
Okay.
Oh well, it doesn't matter. Okay, maybe I'll find it over the course of this.
But go
Uh,
ahead. You were going to reference the timeline for a reason.
well, no, just because it kind of helps to, in my mind, if I can visually see where we are with different stuff. Because
Okay.
as awesome as Star Wars is, it's very long and it stretches millennia and all kinds of time. So it's just nice to
Mhm.
be able to see, oh, this is where this is where this is, that type of thing.
Especially if you haven't read all the books, the comics, all the little backstory. Like I'm. It's not in this room because I'm in the living room and all the stuff is packed away. But like I went and bought the Rebel Files
Hmm.
that's like a box, and then it opens up and it has like the Death Star in it, and then it has like the plane, like the Rebel. I paid like I paid maybe 10, $20 for it, and it's like it retail for $50, but it's like this cool box, and unless you have read all of this stuff, which Filoni has, it's very hard to keep up with all of this because you like the old Republic, the new Republic, the um, the High Republic. You know, all
Hmm.
of these different stages, the dark times, as Obi-Wan calls it. My question to you is, how do you think this movie is going to be? Because
Which
y-
one? Which one are we talking about?
we're talking about Filoni's movie,
Lonely.
and
Okay.
this and the timeline in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. What do you think of the movie? Because you're not a person who's like, I have to watch The Mandalorian every night as soon as it drops. You're like, I'll watch it a couple of days. Like you didn't even like explain to people how you started watching and what's your schedule of watching The Mandalorian.
I don't know. I feel like you should tell me, did I do something weird?
No, no, no. But like you waited for a few episodes to drop before you actually watched it.
Oh, yeah, just because I thought the first season of Mandalorian was cool. And then I realized this show doesn't, at least for me, I don't feel like every episode ends on a strong cliffhanger that I have to watch. So I kind of
Mhm.
like the idea of letting them build up and I kind of get like a little arc of a story, that type of thing.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I watch it. I watched the first four episodes. I haven't seen, yeah, I think the last, as of this recording, I've seen the first four episodes of the newest season.
Okay.
And how many episodes do we know? Is it going to be 8, 9, 10?
I think it's 9. I think the last episode is next week.
Okay. So yeah, at that point, I'll just, once that comes out, then I'll probably the following week just watch all of them.
Okay.
As like a little mini marathon for me. I've kind of conditioned myself to do that for the Mandalorian because again, I don't feel like every episode is a cliffhanger where I got to figure out what happens next. Like if I were to compare it to, and not that they're the same show, but just in terms of cliffhangers, and we talked about this before in one of our reactions when The Outsiders was on HBO Max. Every episode was like, "Ooh, I need to know what happens next," and I would watch that, waiting for the next episode to come out.
Hmm.
Same thing with The Watchmen on HBO Max. Those are
Yeah.
just for me personally. I needed to know what was going to happen next. With this, I can definitely let it build up and get it as a chunk.
Another thing too, I think the difference between those shows and this show is these episodes are not set up that way, and I
Mhm.
wonder if that's done on purpose, not to in other words, so that you can kind of jump in and out. They're not set up. I think this last episode does that. I think this last episode, the last two episodes that have happened, I think does that. But I think if overall a lot of them, the conflict in the episode is resolved because they are more episodic.
Mhm.
It's not like if you mentioned two shows, The Outsider and Watchmen. They were telling one continuous linear story. Where I
Mhm.
think in Mandalorian, you can kind of watch these episodes, and honestly, some of them you can watch out of order when you think about it. So I think, and they have said that they were trying to get back to more episodic episodes. So I think that might be another thing too, because we talked about a show, Poker Face.
Mhm.
Poker Face is the same way. You could literally watch all of those shows out of order, and it wouldn't
Eh,
matter, except for
yeah,
except
well,
for
I
the
would
first and
say,
the last one. I think you
well,
could watch.
yeah, but I feel like you can watch the middle chunk, but I kind
Yeah,
of feel like the last few minutes of every episode kind of is like a through line. But I get what you're saying.
yeah. See. The way I watched them because they were mostly already out when. So I watched like a chunk of them,
Uh-huh.
and there was never really a where I was like, oh, I had to watch that other one to understand what's happening in this one. And
Sure, sure.
I think that's on purpose with the Mandalorian. Whereas even though am not a fan of Boba Fett, I think it was not as good as the Mandalorian. Boba Fett was more of a what happens next
Sure.
than the Mandalorian is.
And the end result was garbage.
Wow. Damn.
Said it.
Shots fired.
That show,
Oh,
man. Afterward, that show should have just been just should have been what is her name?
Fennec Shan.
Yes, just give her a show.
You know the channel how it should have ended.
Uh huh.
It's
Yeah.
just that's like that. Honestly, it's like the meme. Have you ever seen the meme of the Lord of the Rings? And it's like this big, and then they go, "The Lord of the Rings." If Orlando Bloom had a sniper rifle,
Oh, okay. Nice.
if Legolas had a sniper rifle,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that would have been over in a few minutes. So we've talked about Filoni's movie. This is the one that got me the most excited.
Okay.
I am more excited now. So if I had to rank them, James Mangold is 3, Mandalorian, whatever Dave Filoni has coming up is 2.
Hmm.
This movie has me the most excited because it's the most unknown property out of everything that was announced. Because
I feel like
there's
James Mangold is unknown.
well, the reason why I say it's unknown because we've never gone this far into the future of Star Wars. It's always a retelling of the past, characters that we know. There's always a connection with this. They brought back Daisy Ridley, said Rey is going to be back. 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, a new Jedi Order.
Mhm.
And it's like, how does this work? Who are the villains? Who is she training? And do they right the wrongs of the final trilogy? Because
Right, which wrongs?
Finn, a lot. I, we when, on our other channel we talked about this when we did the review of the movie. We felt Finn got a raw deal, and I still feel that way because
Um, I mean, you say that, but his name wasn't announced.
I what I'm saying is I know he wasn't announced, but I'm saying they've only announced her, so I don't know who else is going to be back, and I don't know, maybe they're still working because they only announced her, but I'm hoping delving back into that universe opens the door to maybe some of those characters that we were introduced to. Poe Dameron.
Mhm.
Is the First Order still around? What is the bad guy for this new? Is it the young? Is it the Vong that we saw in the expanded universe? That's now the Legacy universe. Because basically, what happens in the the some of the stuff that is no longer canon outside past the outer rims, there's a race that causes the Empire and the New Republic to join forces because they're that devastating. It's like a swath that just comes through and just F's to the A everything. And even the Empire's like, hey man, call the New Republic. We
Mhm.
just got our asses kicked. It's like remembering aliens is like, hey man, are you keeping score? We just got our asses kicked. That's the Empire did that.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that.
The reason why I'm excited is because of the person behind it,
Mhm.
Charmin Obayi Chinoy.
Yep.
I don't know how I'm pronouncing the name at all, but
Probably butchering it just like me.
oh yeah, but I am giving the person a lot of credit because they were part of the directing team behind Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
And that we talked about it before when we reviewed Phase Four. That was one of our standouts of Phase Four was Miss Marvel.
Hmm.
Just the idea of everything about that show worked. At least for me, everything about that show worked in terms of getting the right actress to play Kamala Khan. Her family was great, and getting to see inside a Muslim American family and you're like, oh, this is their everyday. This is when they go to
Yeah.
temple. This is how they go to pray. This is all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And it's not a stereotypical portrayal of somebody that is a terrorist or an infidel or or just somebody in other. And I think that's really cool.
It's
So
not
I
it's not the Muslims that Fox News talks about.
right. Or even as great as the show 24 was,
Ooh.
um,
Oh, that was my
there
show. And
there
man, that was stereotypical. Or
this
Homeland.
was yeah, it wasn't great for
Yeah,
them.
it was. Oh man,
Yeah,
they leaned into it,
right.
and then they tried to rectify it a little bit when they went deep state, and you were like, ugh,
Yeah.
this is like going back and what like I love 24,
24 is a
but
lot of fun.
man, whew, some of those stereotypes that they reinforce.
Yeah.
I'm
But I
excited.
just like the idea. Sorry, one more
No
time.
good.
I just like the idea of giving Ray female empowerment and just letting her maybe run the show in this movie and just following that character what it means. So yeah.
I'm excited because you mentioned a name. You said Stephen Knight, and we
Mhm.
have talked about Stephen Knight before because we're both fans of Peaky Blinders and the movie Locke. Who
Mhm.
he's a person behind that, and we've said it before on this channel. If you haven't seen Locke, it's about a minute. It's like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. It is one of the best movies you'll see. One of the best performances you'll see from Tom Hardy. When you watch that movie, you'll realize why Tom Hardy is Tom Hardy. You'll realize that when you look at the characters that he's played, whether it's Taboo, the series from FX, whether it's Eddie Brock from Venom, whether it's the I don't want to say this because it's going to sound racist, but they called them the Jew. Remember in Peaky Blinders, and
Mm.
but he was phenomenal in that. But if go watch Locke, and you'll be like, oh, that's why we love this dude. Like it's just an amazing film. And also, there's some cool ass other people who are in that movie. I think is Olivia Colman in that, and also Ruth Wilson is in that, and
Okay.
it's amazing. I think Tom Holland's in it too. But yeah, it's an amazing film. So Stephen Knight, having him attached to it gives me. pause to say, okay, you brought in some heavy hitters for this.
So this was the photo I was looking for
Ah, yes.
forever ago.
Hmm.
That just kind of gives us an idea of what stuff is. What do you have? Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, the High
Hmm.
Republic, Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, the New Republic, Rise of the First Order, New Jedi Order.
And so right now we're watching everything in Rise of the First Order. I think everything we're watching now in Mandalorian is Rise of the First Order, and then Rey will be the new Jedi Order. And
Hmm.
my question is, and I know it's it's I would love to see new ideas that were kind of broached in Solo, which is why I like Solo. It's not great, but I like Solo. The idea of droid autonomy
Hmm.
is an interesting concept. If you've watched Star Wars Visions, they bring up the idea of, can a droid be a Jedi? I think that's interesting. I'd like to see some other concepts. Will we see um, maybe some aliens as Jedi that we did not get to see before? Maybe some aliens that we see as bad guys. So like Dothamir,
Hmm.
we always saw the people from Dothamir the bad guys. They were the bad guys. Darth Maul, Sauvage Opress. Oh my gosh, that name, I can't get over it. The Night Sisters with what is her name? She was she was his Padawan. Dual lightsaber lady, bald head. Oh, I can't remember her name. Anyway, and then you finally got to see maybe somebody not be a bad guy from Dothamir and Jedi Fallen Order with
Hmm.
one of the characters, the Night Sisters. Um, so I'm hoping maybe we get to see some characters flip the script a little bit. Like, let's see. I know we're going to get a Jedi Wookiee in some of these shows coming up, but like, let's see. I'd like to see a protocol droid be a Jedi. Or but I want to see him go weird.
Hmm.
That's just me. So those are the movies. Now here's the thing that we talked about this a little bit. I'm a little apprehensive, but I'm a little bit more reassured that these movies will happen because of the names attached. But keep in mind, we were given Rogue Squadron, Patty
Hmm.
Jenkins, Taika Waititi is supposed to have a movie. We just talked about Damon Lindelof was supposed to be doing the whatever that movie was, and now he's been replaced. But then Benioff and Weiss were supposed to be doing a movie. Now Kathleen Kennedy did clear up the Kevin Feige movie, where she was like, that was never a thing. That was just we talked about Kevin Feige because he's a Star Wars fan. He wanted to do a movie, but there was never any like he didn't sign anything. It's not in
Hmm.
production, so that's you can't you can't be knocked off the slate if you were never a thing. But there's been movies that have been announced before. Ryan Johnson had a trilogy he was supposed to get. Like all of these movies. Hell, Taika Waititi's movie was slated to come out this year, and they're like, we have not heard one casting.
True, but with all those movies, I think the only one that is like fully outright canceled is the Benioff and Weiss one, right? Like the
Yes.
other ones, they still say they're working on them.
Now, Sean Levy, Deadpool 3, and the guy who always works with Ryan Reynolds, that was announced earlier. But so here's the thing: we didn't hear about any of those movies, like any updates at this Star Wars celebration, which
Hmm.
makes me think. Now, Taika's movie is still on track.
Hmm.
Um, I have a feeling that may still come out. Kathleen Kennedy with an interview with IGN, and IGN did a really good interview with her. And I like Kathleen Kennedy because you can't hate her so much and be like she ruined Star Wars and you love The Mandalorian and you love Rogue One and you love Andor. Like you can't have it both ways. But she said that Rogue Squadron is still on track. We just don't know what it is yet. Patty Jenkins is no longer attached. I understand Patty Jenkins's affinity for it. She gave a very personal uh, story about her dad being a fighter pilot and her wanting to do this kick-ass movie. However, Kathleen Kennedy says it could still be a movie, it could be a TV show. Personally, I want a movie, and if you want it right, go get Joseph Kaczynski, who just did, and the reason why I bring him up is because not just because of Top Gun, he's the guy who got Tom Cruise to do Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun. He's also the man behind Tron and the Tron the Tron sequel, and he's the guy behind Oblivion. So you have somebody who can deal with special effects. He's worked with stars before. He's worked with green screen technology, which you will need, and he's actually worked with real goddamn pilots. So if there's anybody who can do a dogfight movie, who can do a Rogue Squadron, go get Joseph. I mean, you saw Top Gun Maverick, really? Top Gun Maverick was literally Star Wars.
I don't know if it's literally, but okay.
I mean, the run on the Death Star was exactly what they were trading for. Put
Sure.
them in X-wings. They were literally trying to blow up the Death Star. I mean, that's the parallels are just so similar. I was like watching this, and I was like, and it took me the second time watching it, where I was like, oh no, this is the trenches. Yeah, this is Star Wars. So yeah, go get him.
Go get them. Another thing I'm excited for, I'm kind of looking over some of this stuff. This idea for the Acolyte show.
So we're television. So the Acolyte show. Go ahead and give a description.
Well, I'm just this headline is the Acolyte is Frozen meets Kill Bill. And I was like, huh.
I have never heard that description before, but I'm here for it.
Well, so this is from IGN, and this is a compilation of all their stuff that they read.
Yes.
Star Wars, not they read, that they put together. Star Wars: The Acolyte, the upcoming Disney Plus series, is set during the end of the High Republic era. Will make its way to Disney Plus in 2024. While we weren't given an exact date, the cast and crew behind the series stopped by Star Wars Celebration to share a few details of as to what fans can expect.
Now you know what Acolyte is, right?
What do you mean?
So Acolyte is the story of how the Sith came back.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Just
so what I and this line is coming from Leslie Headland, who is the series creator. What I pitched to Kathleen Kennedy was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Shockingly, she didn't kick me out of the building. I was like, okay, cool.
How you put those two together, I have no earthly idea. But
I don't know, but I'm excited. I don't know what that means. Kill Bill just to me means just like, oh, anybody can get it anytime, which is going to be awesome. Yeah. And I'd like the idea of she's kind of telling the story from the bad guys, because she says at this point, I guess when the show starts, the bad guys are outnumbered. So I guess they're trying to figure out what do they do to kind of bolster their ranks.
Well, part of it is this is at the end of the High Republic. So this is like the golden age where like everything was good and magical, and and the Sith. It's like so basically this is the seeds of how Palpatine was able to do what he was to do. So in other words, this is like explains how Palpatine was able to be Palpatine, and the culmination of all the plotting and all the things that happens in this show. The end result is Revenge of the Sith. Like the whole idea of like the Sith are back. We're back, baby. That whole idea. I'm more excited about it because of the people who are announced to be in it. This cast is I would watch these people in anything. So you mentioned Leslie Headley. If you don't know who she is, she's the creator behind Russian Doll. So you've got that going for it. You've also got Daphne Keane, who will always be X-23 for me. Manny Jacinto, The Good Place, Dean Charles Chapman from Game of Thrones, and Carrie-Anne Moss, and the guy who plays Chewbacca, Jonas Sudama, is back as a Wookiee Jedi. So that cast is just amazing for me. Like I'm in. You said Daphne, and then also they missed somebody. Because I'm on Polygon. Also, Black girl. Oh, I can't remember her name. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Are you talking about Amandla Stenberg?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's also
and Lee Jung Jae
from Squid Games. Yes.
Yes.
And Jodie Turner Smith. Yeah. So like this cast, is just. You put all these people together, you got my attention. So Acolyte, that's one of the shows. The other show that was announced that we got a little bit more information about was Skeleton Crew.
Hmm.
and they they call that an Amblin film in the Star Wars universe. And I'm like, interesting.
Wait, there's a trailer for Skeleton Crew?
No, in other words, they announced like,
No, no, no. I'm just reading this. Star Wars Skeleton Crew is an upcoming Disney Plus series that is set to arrive in 2023. Star Wars
yes,
Celebration has yet to reveal an exact date, but it did share the first trailer.
yes, I did hear that. I no, I hadn't had. I
Oh,
heard.
maybe it's just not out yet for us to
Yeah,
see.
I've
Oh,
I've
okay.
heard that, but it was not confirmed anywhere that's anybody who'd seen it.
Okay.
It's directed by John Watts, who is the person behind the new Spider-Man trilogy from Sony.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm down. Uh, I, give me that '80s, you know, Goonies, ET feel. That
And this is the one with
Jude Law.
Jude Law, and he is trying to get some younglings, protect them. What's he
I
doing?
so here's the thing: the way they described it when I watched the one of the panels was how does the Star Wars how what is Star Wars like for people not in the war, like in everyday suburban life, like if
Okay.
you're a kid living in whatever would be considered suburbia in the Star Wars universe, what adventures do you guys get yourself into? And
Okay.
that's what this is. I don't know anything more than that. I just when I hear this is what they're going for. They said that it's an entry point for a younger audience, but it's also something that is not just for kids. Which, if you think of the '80s movies, that's exactly what all of them were: The Goonies, E.T., Flight of the Navigator. Trying to think of some more. Critters was not that. Gremlins,
No,
Gremlins. The first one. The
hmm
second one was interesting.
I mean, I feel like the second was a straight up comedy.
The second one was a straight up bizarre acid trip.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, so you got Skeleton Crew. We also got an update on Andor season two.
2024.
4 years after Andor ended, all of these characters, and this leads directly into Rogue One. So the ending of Andor season two is literally the beginning of Rogue One.
Hmm.
Um, there was a panel with Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna, which was electric. Go watch it if you can. They don't give anything away, but they talked about the process. They talked about the show creating it, what it was like, how they came to it. Um, I'm a big fan of Andor. I think it. I've said this before. I think it's one of the best shows. It's top 50 of all time. It is the best Star Wars show for me. Not saying I don't like The Mandalorian. Not saying it is, but it is pound for pound one of the best Star Wars shows,
Sure.
and it might be the best as far as like no fat, just straight steak. No, a little bit of like not like it was perfect. The perfect cut of steak, yeah,
The
because the
perfect kind of
perfect
steak. Okay.
perfect cut of steak has some fat in it.
Right. You need that to cook it. You need to
Yep.
cook in the juices. Yeah,
For
yeah,
those of you who are vegetarian and vegan, pick whatever vegetable you want. That's perfect. For me, it's steak.
yeah. All
I
right. I'm
don't leave
kind of going
anybody
through.
out.
Yeah. Um,
We're inclusive on this channel.
so there's side tangent. There's a place in Charlotte that cooks this super succulent A5 Wagyu steak in front of you for like $400, and I'm trying to save up to do that.
I'll sell something to go.
Yeah,
I've heard that. I've heard that steak is amazing.
yeah.
Um, we also so here's the thing. We know the Lando show is supposedly still happening. We didn't
Hmm.
get any update on it. Um, we also got an update and trailers for May 4th, Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, and we got a trailer for Star Wars Visions Volume 2.
Hmm.
Um, I personally loved Visions. I think every episode wasn't as good as some of them. Some of them were just freaking amazing. I'm really interested to see what the second season is like, May 4th. Um, so, all in all, I enjoyed this Star Wars Celebration. I enjoyed the panels. I'm still going back and watching all of them.
Mhm.
There was a panel with Emily Swallow, Giancarlo Esposito, and Carl Weathers, where this is the thing that I liked about Star Wars and I love about this, that they're just as excited because on that panel, as they walked out, right, Carl Weathers takes his phone out and literally, like a fan, is just taking video of all the people in the audience. And same thing,
There you go.
Giancarlo Esposito is doing the same thing. Yep. And Emily Swallow looked amazing in that outfit. And Giancarlo Esposito, once again, proves simple things in his hands are amazing. Like the man just wore black and like a black suit, and he looked like he stepped off Milan fashion run.
Sure.
And Carl Weathers was just like a goofy ass kid, just excited. Like he was like just excited to be here. And I'm like, dude, you're Creed. You were in Rocky.
Yeah.
You were in Arrested Development. He's just like just so excited to be here. Like I'm just happy I was picked.
Yeah.
And so like that energy was just really good. The panel with your girl Rosario Dawson. And another thing I want to give a shout out to, Rosario Dawson talks about how she got casted, and she gave a shout out to Boss Logic. Now, for those of you who don't know, Boss Logic is he did some fan art, and basically Filoni got a hold of it and was like, "Yeah, she does look like that," and that's how this shit happened. Like, and I want to give a shout out to Boss Logic. If you go online, he's on Twitter, Instagram. I follow him on every platform. He does comic covers all the time. He's always posting stuff. But Boss Logic was like, he clipped that and was like, "Oh my gosh, Rosario Dawson just gave me a shout out."
Hmm.
Like that's just so cool. And then you got to see Mary Elizabeth Winstead up there, and I want to get the actress's name right who plays Sabine. But the three of them just talking about like being in Star Wars and saying like this isn't a job, this is a way of life, and the work that goes into it. It was just fun all around, and I think we need more things that are fun.
I'm trying to find the photo that has Natasha Lou Bordizzo.
Yes,
I hope that's how you pronounce that middle name.
she looks just like Sabine too, and so does Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She looks just like Hera. Mm. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm trying
oh,
to
we
think.
didn't talk about Ahsoka. Oh, my bad. Yeah, we like. What did you think of the trailer? What did you think of like the idea? Because you are the bigger Rosario Dawson fan than I am.
Yeah. The trailer got me hooked on caring about Jedi again. You can see
Oh
my full
yeah.
breakdown on our reaction for the trailer, but to kind of give you some overthoughts, I kind of got burned out on Jedi only from the fact of Star Wars, like the universe of Star Wars is so big and massive, but I feel like we
Hmm.
only talk about Jedi's. And
True.
occasionally you'll talk about a smuggler and a bounty hunter
Hmm.
and a droid. But there's so much other stuff going on, and I feel like we only care about Jedi's because hey, a lightsaber is cool. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but I just want to see other stuff. But
it is a
having seen
laser
that
sword.
trailer, yeah, I'm on board. I want to see what goes on. Uh, it's when is Ahsoka? August?
Yes.
November?
No, this year,
No, is it August or is it November?
August. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So I guess that means I got to try again to get back on the Star Wars Clone Wars. Um, watch that, and then I got to watch Rebels. So I got a lot of stuff I got to catch up on so I can be ready for the live action Ahsoka.
The thing that I loved about that trailer was, and Filoni talks about it in his interview with, I want to say, Screen Rant. No one caught. I saw it, but it didn't register. Ray Stevenson, and he looks like he has a Padawan. Their lightsabers are orange. They're
Mhm.
not totally red. And Filoni hints that they may not be Sith or what you think they are. And he's in it. So, which is interesting because you're like, wait a minute. He's like, they may not be Sith or they may not be Dark Jedi. And so you're thinking, and you see them fight. So you see Ahsoka fighting Ray Stevenson's character, and it makes you wonder, well, what are they?
Mhm.
And the thing that I'm interested in is that Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters of all time. You're right. You do need to watch Clone Wars and Rebels because and we said this in the Ahsoka, and I don't want to belabor the point. Ahsoka's the one character, even outside of anybody else, you literally got to see grow up from a youngling to where she is. And I think I thank you, Dave Filoni, for that because you never really got to see that. You never, and I think that's what made her character so endearing. As she grew up, the fandom grew up, and they grew up with her. So I think that's what so makes it so cool about her character. But I'm really interested to see how they bring in how they bring Thrawn back. Is Ezra Bridger? I almost said Ezra Miller.
I heard, yeah.
As How do you find out? Like, where did they go? Because they got sucked in with space whales, and like would look like a black hole, but it wasn't really a black hole. But anyway, um, like, how does she team back up? And does Bo-Katan end up back in Ahsoka? Like, what's going on in this show, and how does all of this link up to Filoni's movie? So I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
Hell, I may go back and rewatch Rebels before this comes out.
There we go. All right. Anything else? I mean, we went about 50 minutes here.
It was good to talk Star Wars, and I want to get back to where we just enjoyed the things we liked. And if it's not for you, don't shit on it, because if it's not for you, move on. Like, for some people, the Jedi Young Adventures is not going to be for them. It's going to be for kids.
That's the one with the teddy bears and stuff.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
not
it's like,
teddy
wow,
bears.
they look like them teddy bears, them space teddy bears.
Dude, space teddy bears. Ewoks will fuck you up. Hey man,
Good point. You're right.
I'm just saying. There's a lot of stormtroopers who are like indoor. Indoor is their Vietnam.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of stormtroopers at the VA talking about, hey man, they came out of the trees.
Okay.
But perfect example. Like, if you didn't like the Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever, you thought it was too cartoony, like you said, the Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, then don't watch it. It's not for you. That's cool. But don't hate on it because somebody else likes it. And I just remember this feeling I got. I was at Ollie's, and I probably told this story before. I was at Ollie's. I was buying an omnibus, because if there's an Ollie's in your area, go check it out. They got a lot of nerd shit in there for good prices. I was buying a Dr. Afra omnibus, and the guy who was at the cashier, I still remember, he was like, Star Wars? He's like, I'm a very big guardian of what is and isn't Star Wars. And I almost cursed him out. Like, it was like, and you know me, like, when it comes, it comes. And I was like, nope, I'm going to just let you be wrong today, because you're not going to ruin. But I just thought about it. I was like, don't be that guy. Don't be the asshole. And we have all been that person. Don't be actually, don't be the gatekeeper. If somebody likes it, let them fucking like it, man. If it ain't bothering you, who cares?
Right.
This is like, don't ruin it for the next person. And that's how I want to get back to Star Wars, because that's Star Wars. Do you remember when we left work after the 11, we taped sports
rush to go see
and
it.
hauled ass across town to go see a Star Wars movie?
Yeah, it was fun.
Like I want people to have that feeling again, where they go to the movie theaters, they stay up late till 3 a.m. in the morning or 1 a.m. so they can see the next episode of Mandalorian, or they take their kid. I want that for everybody. And it may not be Star Wars. Star Wars Celebration is that thing for us. So
Right.
whatever that thing is for that person, let them have it, man.
Okay, there we go. That'll do it for us here on this tape to video, film, press play, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, tell them why we're taping this one.
Because when this airs, we'll probably be back home, right? I don't think we'll
Probably.
still be up.
No, we'll probably be coming back.
Unless something goes terribly wrong. We
Or,
should be back.
terribly
right. Yeah.
Hey man, somebody like Emily Swallow may invite us to go hang out with her, and I'm like,
Maybe
hey,
she'll remember you. Yeah.
man, if she remembers me, if Emily Swallow remembers that we did a panel together, y'all go hear about that.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll see but yeah, we'll be at
I'll
in
introduce
Greenville for the
myself
Comic-Con.
as the man Emily Swallow remembers.
There we go. Yeah, we will be in Greenville for the
SC Comic Con.
SC Comic Con.
Yep,
Excited about it. We're going to grab a bunch of footage, try to grab some interviews, and put them on the channel here for you all to watch, and we will see what comes of that.
Yep.
In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe to know when we put up more videos. Hit that bell so you'll get those notifications.
Ding.
Just like that. Follow us to YouTube, Facebook.
gonna
We
get a-
trying,
I'm gonna get a real bell one day, and just so like when you say it, I'm ding.
retrying y'all. We trying y'all. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch.
Oh, I see it. It's over there.
There we go. That's it for us now. We'll see you later. Peace.
Deuces.